Well, it's a little group tonight. Lindy London, Andrew Cruz, Autumn Minnick, Mike Luffs, and Now I Know, Etena, Larif, Donna Davidson, Rage Against the Machine, Cecilia Amorati, Blues du Jour. It'll change in a minute. Jay Northrup, Oracle 11, Genesis, and I'm a Skeptic. Hi. Okay, not entirely sure how long I can go tonight, but I do have information that I want to share, and I hope everybody takes everything very, very, very seriously about what is taking place in our country, all over the world. In fact, Hypocrites Matrix, hi. L78, hello. Sherry is not going to be moderating tonight, so L, thank you for showing up for... I know that you're a mom and you have to do mom duties, so for however long you can hang in there. Okay. Well, I want to start with some weather, some fabulous weather. South Africa, hit again.
Pertaining to houses include paying for new roofing, windows, glass, and doors, as well as labor for work to severe thunderstorms accompanied by strong winds that rocked Bloemfontein yesterday, December 6th late afternoon, and left a trail of destructions to properties of several people. Numerous houses' roofs were blown away in Bloemfontein Township, Turflacht. The natural incident has reportedly left approximately 62 property owners devastated in Turflacht area. Several trees and electrical poles were uprooted in areas where the storm wreaked havoc. Affected people are lamenting the huge financial costs, ranging from replacing damaged, movable properties as furniture and vehicles, as well as rebuilding badly damaged houses. The costs pertaining to houses include paying for new roofing, windows, glass, and doors, as well as labor for work to repair.
Even when you're in a hurry, there's still time for personalized gifts. PersonalizationMall.com will help you find everything.
Repair their properties. The storm that was experienced for about 10 minutes impacted mostly houses in the area commonly known as Vallachia Zone, which is close to the Kopenhagen Secondary School. Some of the affected people had to endure cold conditions due to the soaking rain as they slept in roofless houses. George Mabote says, "My son called me to come back home within a few minutes as I was about to leave the house. He pointed the dark cloud covering the sky, and within a blink of an eye, I heard a huge bang, then the entire roof of my house was gone. I am unable to identify any of the roof material. Luckily the car was parked at the entrance of the gate, and it remains a miracle it was not affected." James Cumulo and his spouse Polisa suffered the severe storms and say they made a daring escape with their children as the strong winds blow off the roof.
I'll put the link in the chat, so if you want to watch the remaining about 7 minutes to see what happened in South Africa, click on the link. And L78, thank you. Awakened Sleeper, hello. Never got to the dentist, Awakened Sleeper. Oh, yeah. Just reading the chat. So, weather's still happening to an awful lot of people. Let me go back to this browser. If unemployment hits 4%, the recession begins. Those in finance, economists, have said that our unemployment rate is upwards of 26%. Bullshit from the government. Are you liking it? It's very dangerous. Counter-terror officers investigate deliberate ULIS explosion. Wow. The Brits are, well, I still think they have some testosterone. Not to say that it's only men, but a whole lot of these ULIS cameras are being taken down. And we do nothing. So this Connecticut City rejects 5G citing evidence of health risks, and I received this from a subscriber. I'm not a pessimist, I'm not an optimist, I'm a realist. And I don't see it as good news. Okay, good. Stanford, their city council have listened to the experts, the Board of Representatives in Stamford, Connecticut, earlier this month, voted to reject a model agreement that would have allowed AT&T and Verizon to install 5G equipment on city-owned utility poles. The reason why I say that, okay, a win, which will turn out to be a lose. Thank you, Trump. Yeah. Thank you, Trump. Experts, including toxicologist and epidemiologist Devra Davis, many of you know who Devra Davis is, said there were many documented health and environmental impacts of wireless radiation, including brain damage, memory loss, decline in reproductive function, DNA damage, and harm to insects. Davis is the founder and president of Environmental Health Trust, which, if you're new to this new world that we're living in and don't know too much about all of the dangers we face, especially with, I can't believe this is not coming up. Okay. Here we go. I will link below to Devra Davis's site here, and you will find a tremendous amount of information that's the real science. But let me go back to this article here. So, the city has an obligation to protect its citizens. Well, that's what government is about, right? Some representatives, like City Rep Don Mays, worried that rejecting the pact would mean AT&T Verizon would sue the city. Until that technology that emits wireless radiation changes in the marketplace, we are essentially going to have to accept it. Don Mays, you're just a bend over and take it kind of guy. But 2018 ruling by the Federal Communications Commission, many of us, including myself, posted on what Trump allowed the telecom industry to do to all of us. Screw us. All right, so the 2018 ruling, FCC blocks states and municipalities from taking actions that would impede or delay the rollout of 5G technology. And Mays said if cities try to go against the FCC rules, the carriers will sue the cities, and I don't think we want to subject this city to that. Really? You'd rather subject them to 5G that is going to destroy their health as opposed to letting the AT&T and Verizon sue and fight it. That's why it's not much of a win. The federal government does not have guidelines for long-term exposure, so we need to protect our city ourselves and not succumb to legal threats. And that came from City Rep James Grumberger, who disagreed with Don Mays, saying, I don't think we should back away from this because the threat of a lawsuit. If we have a test case on this, we should be a test case. Similarly, Rep Sean Boger, I'm just not willing to take a gamble with my 4 kids living in this city and my constituents' children living in this city without some type of concrete consensus. Concrete consensus. The contract would allow 5G equipment to go up close to homes and schools without limitation to the number of antennas. They operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So a resident said the city has an obligation to protect citizens from potentially dangerous modalities. Okay, well, unfortunately, we don't have Americans who are sitting in government positions protecting anyone now. It's all about money, 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 money. Okay, give me the money. Show me the money. In addition to Davis, the experts who presented to the board's Land Use Committee include Dr. Rob Brown, an orthopedic radiology specialist, B. Blake Levitt, a science journalist, Theodore Scarato, the executive director of Environmental Health Trust, Kent Chamberlain, PhD, past chair and professor emeritus in the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department of the University of New Hampshire, and Joseph Sandry, a telecom regulatory attorney and CEO of the tech lab Thought Delivery Systems. The 4 key points that were made, well, it causes cellular stress, DNA damage, neurodegenerative disease, cancer, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, chromosomal damage, neuronal DNA damage, neuropsychiatric effects, sperm damage. But hey, put them up because you're afraid of a lawsuit. FCC guidelines are a complete failure for protecting kids and adults. They haven't changed the guidelines since, I think, 1993. We're still coming off those guidelines. If they've been changed recently, inform me. I don't know. Other countries have more stringent wireless radiation standards. Pollinators may be impacted by 5G. How many pollinators are out there? At this point, I think an awful lot have been killed off. So, yeah. Good for the Board of Representatives, is that it? Board of Representatives in Stamford, Connecticut, but I guarantee you, it's going. FDA approved controversial lab-grown meat because it's a reality. Becomes a reality. Enjoy your meat. Will you even know? Italy recently became the first country to officially ban cultivated meat. But I'm sure Americans are going to fight to have that meat labeled. My daughter will not be drafted. I don't care what you say or do. I want to thank my subscriber for sending this along. Gotta love the internet provider here. No, you really don't. Let's refresh and see. Wow. It's not good. Ah. It's not playing.
What if your child was drafted for war?
Let me get this right. You want to pass a law to draft my daughter to send to another one of your foreign fucking wars for something you created so your arms manufacturers can make more money for your banker friends. Did I get that fucking solid right or not? Now, wrong, elephant breath. My daughter will not be joining the military any way, shape, or form unless it's to fight this fucking war that this government has started against its people. See how simple that is? The very fact that you don't understand the societal fucking rules about women and children, let me school you a little bit. Now, the fact of the matter is you can't make your fucking recruitment numbers because your recruiters told so many lies like, oh, yes, you get the condo on the beach when you join up. Oh, you get to start here, but we're going to switch you to what you really want later. And the biggest boner up the ass, the VA will take care of you if you got hurt. Hey, the reason you can't meet the recruitment goals is because these young men have already voted with their fucking feet. They're not going to fucking fight. And the fact that you think you're going to get the women to fight, let me put it to you this way. It was one thing when you oppressed us with unbelievable fucking taxes. One thing, because we were living in nice homes and still eating pretty good. It's another thing when you spied on us to the degree that you did and made us realize that we don't have any freedom. It's another thing when you not only wrecked the fucking economy, but you fucking did it in such a way where you spent so much fucking money that went to special interest groups that the people never had a chance to benefit from it. And now, when you have people that are homeless eating canned goods out of the back of their fucking car, you know what? They may do that for themselves, but their kids are not going to go through that. Motherfucker, you're going to find out what people will do for their fucking children. You protect women and children because it's a societal norm. It has nothing to do with being sexist or unequal in any way. The fact is, you should always protect people that are weak of themselves and always stand up for the right fucking thing. And the right fucking thing here is, if my daughter is going to be in a war, she's not going to have to go to a fucking foreign country to fight it. Fuck your taxes, fuck your withholding, fuck your FEMA, fuck your IRS, fuck you, fuck your corrupt Congress, fuck your corrupt presidents, fuck your entire election process. You know, I could go on forever, but let's face it, the world's not going to live that long before a fucking meteor solves a problem for us. So, fuck you. And if anybody doesn't like what I'm saying, you know what you can do. If you do like what I'm saying, give me a hell yeah in the comments, because our women aren't going to fight a fucking war for some corrupt fucking government.
Good on him. Good on him. What say you guys? Oh, wow. Well, University of North Texas shut down their finals today because there was a pro-Palestine protest.
The University of North Texas shut down their finals yesterday because there was a pro-Palestine protest. But did you hear about it on the news? Of course not, because they don't want you to know that the students across the U.S. are literally on campus protesting daily. But I just dropped a student off, and they told me they were terrified. That's right, terrified. They're doing everything in their power to keep these protests very hush-hush. Why do you think that is? They don't want us all getting a bunch of funny ideas. But the students, they're not going for the bullshit. They're standing by Palestine. And I'm proud of them. So, thank you, University of North Texas.
Good. Yeah.
The University of North Texas shut down their final.
And a student was terrified? I don't know why. Oh, you know, they roll in the road, which is dirt. Then they come in. Little one. You used to be shiny. Your coat was beautiful. But now look at it. Look at it. Wow. What happened to the Oh, snap back into... Well, could you get your butt out of my face? Don't you love these live streams? I really stay focused, don't I? Oh, Taylor Noose is in the house. Hi, Taylor Noose. So yeah, now defending the homeland is giving grants to woke speak art groups. Oh, that's important, isn't it? That's really important. Very important. Especially when the border is secure. The American dream, I thought this was funny. Man, I have to say, some people are really clueless. It's frightening. Reading this article, the American dream isn't dead. 10 steps to achieve it. Let's just go right on down to the steps. It's frightening, these steps, because they're not steps to achieving the American dream. Be accountable for your current situation. Blaming others only keeps you from taking steps to fix it. Okay, is that a step to achieving the American dream? When we have all of these external forces coming at us, attacking us, robbing Americans of their homes, of their apartments, but you're not supposed to blame anybody. Don't blame. Nope. We can't blame anybody. We can't hold anybody accountable. Don't play that blame game. The problem is you. It's you. Your life depends on it, literally. That's another step to the American dream. If you don't take control of your life, it will take control of you. Wow. Considering that I would say the majority of Americans, no matter what you do, your circumstances aren't getting better. They're just not going to get better. Maybe one or two of you, you know people in your community, you're going to start something, some, self-employment gig or something. But how long will that last? How long will it last? I mean, what we are facing now is obvious, literal destruction of all of our lives. Okay. Control your circumstances. Put yourself in a position to control what happens around you. These seem to be steps that repeat. You have to really want it. If you aren't committed, then you're just going to fail. You have to really want it. You didn't know that? Oh, okay. Well, here. You have to really want it. All of this is fine for decades ago. Many. Not now anymore. Be bold. Find a guide. A mentor. Are you a renter or an owner? Renters can walk away without consequence. Owners have too much at stake to lose. Be willing to commit to everything. Be willing to work. Okay? Be willing to work. Oh, I didn't know that. I have to work? Oh, okay. You probably need to get rid of your current friends and get off social media. Get into that real world. Are you kidding me? I guess there's an awful lot of people who really are so flippin' clueless about what has happened, what is still happening, and what's coming at breakneck speed. So, Arizona sheriff, illegal immigrants being handed $5,000 Visa gift cards, cell phones, plane tickets, all of which are being paid for by the American taxpayer. You like it? The sheriff said, "I was absolutely in shock when these agents came forward. I had known we handed out free cell phones and plane tickets, but to give out $5,000 on Visa gift cards to people who break our laws and come into the country illegally when the average American is struggling to pay their bills is just tough to swallow. People need to know the truth and let their representative lawmakers hear about it. This needs to end." Well, Sheriff, you might be new in town, but let me just tell you, a whole lot of Americans don't really want to do anything, okay? And those external forces that are literally destroying them, those who are comfortable still won't do anything. Then they get uncomfortable and realize they're in survival mode, and it's very hard to operate in survival mode. So there you go. Survival mode is also, it's a very self-centering place to be, because, well, you're just surviving. Illegal aliens being prepped for transport at the Lukeville Tent Connector Camp, 3/4 of a mile from the closed port of entry. Yeah. And when I see this, it looks very military. All the rows, the tents, the National Guard. Where are they going? They get to choose. Or they have been told where to go. And let me tell you, Arizona is being hit hard. Hit hard. Military-aged men, get ready. This isn't good. In fact, let me go over here and surge of single adults, males crossing U.S. border. So mainstream media is on it. National mainstream media. Americans, they're still watching Fox News or CNN and whatever. Are you hearing from anybody? Is anybody saying to you, what's going on with our border? Or do they think it's secure?
Same pattern, Bill. Good morning to you. It's been a wild week down here in Lukeville. Border Patrol needs a lot of help. Every time they fix a hole in the border wall, smugglers cut it elsewhere, and there are more mass illegal crossings. You mentioned those single adult men crossing. Take a look behind us. These guys all waiting for processing, coming in from all over the world. See if we can talk to a few of them real quick. Sir, where are you from? What country?
India.
India. Where do you want to go in the United States?
California.
California? What city?
No.
You don't know yet? And why'd you decide to come? You want to work?
Work, yeah.
Work? Gotcha. Sir, where are you from?
Me, I'm from Senegal.
Senegal.
Yeah.
You want to go to New York?
Yeah, I want to go there.
And why'd you come to the United States?
Because it's the peace country and it's the democracy also. That's why we want to be here to continue what we are planning our life, because we see so many people who is here and the life is very great.
Did you pay anybody to come here? Any smugglers?
No, I was trying myself because I was work hard and the things is very hard. So me, I struggling so much. Then I do my best to see here in America is so much democracy we see all over in the world.
Okay, so here for opportunity, democracy, that sort of a thing. Anybody else here from Senegal? Senegal? Got a few hands raised up. Where in the United States do you guys want to go to? What cities? New York? Michigan. Where in Michigan?
for meet my big brother.
For your brother. Your brother's in the U.S.?
Yeah, my big brother.
Sir, where do you want to go?
Don't speak English.
No English. Okay. Español aquí?
Español. Dominicano.
Dominican.
Dominicano.
¿Y a dónde vas en los Estados Unidos?
A Philadelphia.
Philadelphia. Okay, so you get a flavor right there of some of the places these folks want to go. We want to show you some video we shot late yesterday afternoon before sunset. We talk about those wall breaches. Take a look at this. There was another cut in the border wall here in Lukeville. You'll see on the right side of your screen illegal immigrants pouring in through the breach in that wall.
What's up, affiliate marketers? How you doing? Michael.
I'm sick of the commercials. So sick of the commercials. But if I put the ad blocker on this browser, I could probably get those messages. Aurora residents displaced after Denver leases motel for migrants. Yeah, I included this in last night's live stream, but this is what's happening to your fellow Americans. They're being booted out onto the street.
Today, the city of Denver executed its largest encampment sweep, moving 100 people off the streets and into a hotel on Quebec Street. It's part of Mayor Mike Johnston's commitment to get 1,000 people off Denver streets and into some sort of housing by the end of the year. The only problem, Denver Mayor Johnston's push is now overflowing to other metro area cities. Your reporter in Aurora, Tori Mason, tracking how this initiative, Tori, is now straining your community there in Aurora.
Well, Karen, Denver is simply running out of places to put all of these migrants. You might have seen a few of them camping around downtown. And according to the city of Aurora, Denver's decision to lease out this motel behind me and bring migrants here, that was Denver's decision alone. But now it's Aurora residents who are suffering.
Denver is sheltering more than 2,600 migrants. 400 stay at this Quality Inn in Aurora. Before their arrival, Joe Sauceda, his partner, and their dog had been living here for months.
We sleep in the front.
But for the last few days, they've been living in a car.
We have blankets and all that. It is a big car, but still.
The city of Denver leased the motel to shelter the latest wave of migrants. When they moved in, Joe and others who called Quality Inn home were forced out.
Some of them were older people, and they've been there for years. And I mean, where do they go?
Joe's parked outside his place of work. His employer, Aurora Councilwoman Danielle Jurenski.
This is Denver Mayor Mike Johnston busing migrants into the city of Aurora, taking up our hotels and throwing out American citizens, Aurora residents, onto the streets.
In a statement to CBS Colorado, the city of Aurora says, while Denver provided a general heads up to Aurora about this possibility over the last few weeks, they have not communicated how they will provide resources to the migrants, including food, transportation, and other services.
The city of Aurora is not a sanctuary city. However, Denver proudly prides themselves on being a sanctuary city.
In a statement, the office of Mayor Johnston writes, this facility was opened in late November with the understanding and cooperation of Aurora and Arapahoe County officials. Nearly 300 people arrived in Denver on Thanksgiving Day, and we worked quickly to bring on hundreds of rooms to help people get out of the cold.
It got pretty chilly.
But now it's people like Joe struggling to stay warm.
I know they're trying to better themselves by coming here, but the fact is that we have our own people that we need to take care of.
Gosh. They're trying to better themselves by coming here. That guy should be outraged. He's been kicked out. He's now living in his car. Elderly getting kicked out, put on the street for illegal migrants who are not paying. Denver residents are paying. American taxpayers are paying for the illegal. Where are all of the residents that should be out there screaming their heads off? Wow, man. We're a sorry lot.
Latest on this, Eric. Well, good morning. Virtual meetings between the mayor and some aldermen were scheduled to get started this morning and go into the afternoon. So by the end of the day, we could know just how much taxpayers are on the hook for. Under partly cloudy skies and clouds of controversy, crews started work to dismantle the Brighton Park migrant base camp at 38th in California.
I would just say that, the end result is it couldn't be prepared in a way that would be environmentally, acceptable for folks to be there, and so we had to move on.
After reviewing a
Bullshit. There was so many protests, Chicago residents coming out in force, screaming their heads off. No, you're not going to be putting up an illegal migrant camp in our neighborhood. They're taking it down. And this guy, the lying governor, is talking about how, well, we realized that it wasn't, environmentally feasible. Jesus Christ, man. Oh, wow.
Nearly 800-page city-commissioned environmental report, the governor and the state EPA earlier this week shut the project down, citing environmental safety concerns.
We did.
So you don't even wait for the report to come out before you start construction? Really? Oh.
The holidays.
Voulez-vous apprendre le français?
All right, this is getting hard with all of the these commercials.
Rapidement? Do you want to learn French quickly? If so, then listen.
Well, progress continues at a planned site in Morgan Park to house thousands of migrants who've been bused to Chicago.
WGN political reporter Taman Bradley joins us now with the story. Taman?
Ben and Lourdes, it's a working holiday week for city officials and construction crews involved with housing migrants. It's been a slow process, but the pace is picking up as the Johnson administration clears migrants out of police stations and airports.
At 115th and Houston, a construction fence now stands where a jewel once stood. As plans are
I think this is the construction that they're no longer that they've decided to scrap. Street releases feared as money for migrant assistance dwindling, as if street releases weren't happening. But Arizona, Tucson, all of these people coming over, 12,000 in a 24-hour period. And you think these little itty-bitty cities can handle that in Arizona? Release them onto the streets?
Migrants are surging. Money is starting to dwindle.
We're at the Greyhound station in Tucson because, in a way, the immigration story in Pima County is about to come full circle. Large-scale efforts to help house immigrants came out of immigrants being dropped off at the Greyhound station. And now there's a chance that could be happening again.
Look at what's happening at Lukeville right now. That could be what's happening here on the streets of Tucson.
Federal money funding the Casa Elita shelter has run out. New money channeled from Washington to Pima County includes less money with more restrictions on how to spend it. That leaves the county with money to shelter about 750 migrants per day, with an average of 1,000 or more still coming in. County spokesperson Mark Evans says that leaves a real prospect of 350 migrants released on the streets. Single men would be field released first, but families could be turned out too.
There's no guarantee. It just all depends on the volume. And at these historic levels, I mean, it's just, this week was worse than last week, which was worse than the week before. We're going to hit the breaking point eventually, one way or another.
The migrants in these cases are legally in the U.S. while they wait for a judge to rule on their asylum claims.
No, they're not. No, they're not. Gotta love our reporters, right? Just speak in the narrative. Give me my script and I'll read it. Give me my paycheck and I'll just keep doing it every single day. They're not. They're not legal until they are adjudicated legal, until their asylum claims are adjudicated. But hey, just tell everybody they're legal. Okay. Senator Seema reacts to what's happening in Lukeville.
This situation in Lukeville the last couple of weeks. So you were surprised as well to see them coming from our right instead of our left. We think maybe they came through the port that's actually closed right now.
Yeah, we don't know. There's some reports of another border breach out to the east. Things keep developing here. Every time I come to Lukeville over the last 2 weeks, I get off the road and turn right, start heading west to check out where the migrants are coming from. But again, things still developing here at the Arizona border. And as things still develop here at the Arizona border, Senator Kyrsten Sinema is in D.C. trying to work on bipartisan immigration legislation. There's no end in sight to the mass migrant crossings in Lukeville. Now, local Mexicans have come to sell water and food through the wall. Some are giving it away for free.
It's very sad and very ugly here. Imagine spending the whole night and it's so cold. In the morning, I want to bring something warm to their stomach.
Single adult men wait for days as Border Patrol works to process them all. This man hopes he'll be next in line.
My name is Abdelrazak. I'm from Morocco.
Many of the migrants here are also from Africa, as Razak says he wants a job and a new start in America.
I'm saying to myself, this is my time. I go to get my dreams.
Senator Sinema tells me from D.C. these economic migrants shouldn't qualify for asylum claims.
We've got to change the law so that the folks who are coming in to claim asylum are...
Stop the changing of the law. Coming here for the American dream. Coming here because you can do better financially is not a qualification for asylum. But that's a senator from Arizona. She should know that. You don't have to change the law. Enforce it. Enforce the law that we have. But this is what you hear from Republicans and Democrats. We've got to reform immigration law. And we just never get around to doing it. So for decades, that's what we say. And the American people are what? Dead asleep. Don't know the law themselves. And I don't even think that they listen. That they're not, they can't be listening properly to what they're hearing. I think their brains are just mush. And they watch news to feel like they're informed. Wow.
actually facing asylum.
The government accepts claims only for fear of persecution in a migrant's home country because of race, religion, nationality, social group, or political opinion. In fiscal year 22, less than half of all asylum claims were granted by U.S. courts.
How many people are being released into the country without any interview about whether or not they have a legal claim to this country?
Lastly, saying it's past time for Congress to
find bipartisan agreement on policy changes that would actually slow the flow of the migrants who are seeking entrance to our country.
And
God, we are in big crap. Let's listen to CBS Evening News. I'm sure she is going to tell you more lies.
Crossing into the U.S. from Mexico is nearing an all-time high. CBS News has learned that nearly 10,000 asylum seekers were detained on Wednesday alone. Now, all of this comes as Republicans in
This has just been outstanding.
In Congress are demanding a change to the nation's immigration policy as part of an emergency funding bill for Israel and Ukraine. CBS's Adam Yamaguchi traveled to the border town of Lukeville, Arizona, to see for himself.
Daybreak at the Lukeville border crossing in Arizona. Hundreds of migrants have reached the most important moment in their journey to the U.S.
Border Patrol officials are starting to line the individuals up based on language and where they're from. The processing may begin momentarily.
Overnight, people built campfires for warmth. Some have gone days without food or water. This man traveled from West Africa.
Did you sleep?
How to sleep? Yeah, I better go nowhere to sleep.
Did you expect this when you came into the U.S.?
No.
Daniela is a mother of 4 from Mexico.
I'm very tired of walking so much with my children, with the baby in my arms and the little girl on my shoulders.
This is one of the border's most remote stretches, now one of the busiest. In the last year alone, there's been a 140% spike in migrant apprehensions in this area.
I've been working in this sector of the border for almost 20 years, and we've never seen anything like this. We're cutting through the wall.
Our cameras captured one of those breaches.
Hey guys.
Smugglers hid their faces.
This is the breach in the wall that the smugglers have cut through, and this is what the Border Patrol is up against. This is not an anomaly by any means. Here's another one, Rod, that was just cut and repaired today.
For nearly everyone here, the U.S. represents a safe haven.
I am fighting as much as I can so my children can have something better.
Leave it to CBS News to interview a mother who's tired, carrying her child, other children walking beside her. How about all of the military-aged men? Now, some mainstream media reporters are on it, but if you're watching these news programs, you're being dumbed down, not informed. Okay? Okay.
Do you care?
Yeah. No.
You don't care that we have to pay for all of this?
Look, listen.
Like Americans are paying for all of this. Do you guys, you know that? Like this, you know money doesn't come out of nowhere.
Look, if
right?
I pay $7,000 for America, it's...
So because you paid $7,000, then it's okay if we pay something.
I don't care if this for America. I don't care.
So you're because you paid $7,000.
Yeah.
It's okay that Americans have to pay some money too.
Yeah, because America is my dream. If America doesn't want me, I'm here for America. Yeah. Because I respect America. I respect American rules. Everything. Okay. Yeah.
But you broke the rules coming in though. Right?
No,
like this isn't legal. If it were, then you wouldn't be sitting out here, right? You know, I mean, you know that. You guys know that.
Yeah.
So you're saying you respect our rules, but you didn't follow the rules to get in. I mean, you know.
I know. I have no idea how to get visa to travel to America.
This was your option in your.
It's first mistake.
First mistake. First mistake.
Yeah.
All right. No more mistakes.
First and last mistake.
First and last.
First and last.
Okay.
Yeah. Mexico City to Sonata, and we're here.
So why didn't you do it legally? Why didn't you do the CBP one, the app, or go to a port?
Actually, I don't have any idea.
You don't know?
Yeah,
you just said I'm gonna do this.
Actually, I do this. That's it. Yeah.
Because the word is out all over the world, the United States has opened its border. These people are encouraged to come by the NGOs, the United Nations NGOs, by our own fabulous NGOs. It's treason right smack in your face, Americans. If you're not feeling it now, boy, are you going to be feeling it. Migrants flying out of airport
Now, as we continue our coverage at the border, we turn to Tucson International Airport, where many migrants are brought once they've been processed. KGUN 9's Kenny Dar's at the airport, where migrants were showing up in large numbers earlier this afternoon.
Yeah, so I've been here at Tucson International for about 4 hours now, where things have really quieted down. But just a few hours ago, migrants were in droves right here behind me, waiting to be processed by TSA and on to their next destination. As we all know, we have seen a substantial surge at the border over the last week or so across the Tucson sector, with numbers reported in the thousands per day. Many of those migrants, once processed by CBP, are then brought to various shelters and churches, who then help get them to their next destination. Our Sierra Vista reporter Alexis Ramanjulu speaking with the pastor of a church in Douglas, who also works at a shelter down there. And they've been trying to keep up with the amount of migrants needing to be brought here to the airport.
We can only take 56 or so migrants to the migrant shelter in Tucson. So the other 40, we're trying to get up there through local shuttles. We have the Frontera de Cristo organization here has a couple of vans, so they're helping get people to the airport. So yeah, it's a crazy process and an unpredictable one.
Again, when migrants do end up here, it means they have done all the necessary paperwork as far as processing goes. And once here, they are on their way to their next destination, wherever that may be across the United States. One volunteer telling me many of them have sponsors waiting in the city they are going to, though not every migrant has one. He also tells me there has been some issues with getting plane tickets for some of these migrants, which often takes days to sort out. In the meantime, they do send many of those migrants to nearby hotels, or some of them choosing to simply stay put here at the airport. For now.
And do you think that the migrants, are footing the bill? No. No. Again, we have elderly being kicked out on the street, and they have nowhere to turn for help. But the American taxpayer, I guess, is fine with $5,000 Visa gift cards, free cell phones, shelter, hotels. You're footing the bill. I guess you're fine with that. And fine with our American elderly not being able to afford to pay their bills, rent hikes, getting thrown out on the street. Good job, peeps. Good job. And why is there an influx of Chinese migrants at the southern border? Why?
Don't see anywhere else and that you need to see. Our cameras captured.
I taught my client Summer here how to use webinars to...
You know, this didn't happen until tonight, all of these commercials, because I've worked off this browser and it was fine. Maybe one or two would have a commercial. Every friggin' video now, I get these commercials. This just started today.
To generate clients online, and within 60 days, he was doing $20,000.
A massive surge of migrants flooding across the southern border from a country that you may not expect. They are Chinese. Large groups of Chinese nationals seen here being processed by Border Patrol agents. Only our cameras were there. The majority of them single adult men hoping to cross the border in San Diego and leave the Chinese Communist government behind. That's what they say their intentions are. And if that's the case, who can blame them? Or is there something else going on? Still, the wave of Chinese migrants is adding to the stress already rippling throughout San Diego, which is considering a multi-million-dollar vote today to help handle the increased crush of migrants flooding the area ever since September. Joining us now with more is NewsNation correspondent Ali Bradley. She's all over these stories on the border. We see your video every day, but this is different, Ali. Why are we seeing these Chinese men now?
Yeah, hey, Brian, we're seeing people from all over the world. Down here in Lukeville, Arizona, we're seeing people from Senegal. Where are you guys from? Morocco. Okay, we got Morocco, we got Senegal, we've got people from Sudan. I've talked to them all. Now, here's the thing, Brian. The people from China, they're flying in directly to Ecuador because they don't need a special visa in order to do that. And News Nation has been able to obtain numbers exclusively showing that just about 10,000 Chinese nationals have crossed into the United States over the last 2 months. That's compared to 24,000 for the entire last year. So a sizable jump there. And we are seeing this influx in migrants all over the southern border. A long line of Chinese migrants stopped and processed by Border Patrol. The language barrier drawing the process out. News Nation cameras were there as it happened. Hundreds of migrants setting up shelter, waiting to be processed. Many say they want to get away from the Chinese Communist government and hope to be granted asylum in the U.S. Migrants like Bayan, she is from Vietnam. Her husband dragging a fallen branch to his shelter. He's from China. The couple say they traveled through 7 different countries to get here. Chinese migrants are not subject to the same vigorous vetting that migrants from countries considered special interest are. The reason? Officials tell News Nation, politics. Still, the concern once again is the potential threat from unknowns crossing into the U.S., something FBI Director Christopher Wray discussed today at a Congressional Oversight Committee hearing.
As you say, there's the unknown unknown and the known unknown. Right. But what I can tell you is that our 56 Joint Terrorism Task Forces are working their tails off to make sure that they suss out and identify potential terrorist suspects, whether they're on the watch list or not.
The sudden crush of migrants, both from China and around the world, are straining support systems in border towns like San Diego. That county is voting today for $3 million in funding for migrant services. The county will soon run out of the $3 million they allocated back in October. Republican Councilmember Jim Desmond says this should not be a local issue.
The dollars are going to give to these nonprofits that have been doing this job, which, like I said, I agree, it needs to be done because we really don't want, these migrants to be homeless on the streets here in San Diego County. But it should not be the taxpayers of San Diego County. It should be the federal government.
Okay, so Brian, we can tell you that we are still awaiting that vote out of San Diego County, so that is still left to be seen. But when it comes to what we know about the migrants who have crossed into the United States over the last month, that's nearly 250,000 of those individuals.
3 million going to fund migrant services. Did you hear that the Chinese are not vetted as rigorously as others? And the reason is politics? I thought China was our enemy. Do you understand what it means when people say we've got treason going on? And those who are treasonous, they should be in jail? You know what we do with the treasonous. I don't know about you guys, but I feel betrayed. I feel betrayed. We have an invasion taking place right smack in our face. And Americans are either too apathetic to care or so wanting to be willfully ignorant and don't look and stupid. Okay. Well, when nobody's protecting the house, this is what happens. And guess what? It ends up at everybody's front door. Don't people realize that? I guess not. Denver's mayor says city faces migrant crisis. What a surprise. Uptown Denver homeless camp has renters ready to break leases.
On an encampment that went up October 4th outside.
Yeah, they can't get the homeless off the street, but they sure as hell can pay for motels and hotels to house migrants.
Outside some luxury apartment buildings in the Uptown neighborhood by St. Joseph's Hospital. It's home to a bunch of 30-somethings, the very demographic Denver wants to attract, but is in danger of losing because residents tell us they no longer feel safe the moment they step outside. The homeless encampments at 18th and Marion showed up October 4th. For those who live in the expensive Kendrick buildings across the street, the quality of life has gone down ever since.
Drug dealers are coming by, drug deals are happening, open drug use, there's needles and human waste everywhere. We've had residents reported that they've found people in stairwells doing fentanyl.
I have a video of a fire that I had to call out to the person in a tent because it turns out that their tent was on fire because the propane tank was on fire inside their tent. I feel unsafe in my own home scenario because I can't go outside without a new thing happening. We're right next to a hospital. We thought we were going to be safe living near here.
Just recently, I was walking my dog and made it maybe 40 feet from the building and watched a man brutally beat another man with a crutch. So that was pretty terrifying for me. So.
Reed, Corrine, and Connie are all Denver transplants, 30-somethings who could live anywhere because they work remotely, but chose Denver, only to second-guess their decisions. They don't even want to provide their last names after they say multiple cars inside their garage were broken into.
We can no longer safely go outside by ourselves without feeling very concerned for our safety, as most of us, myself included, have been followed. We've been yelled at.
Yeah, I lived in Chicago for 8 years, and I never felt the amount of fear for my safety as I have felt here since I moved in.
So, you're at the point where you would consider breaking your lease?
Yeah, absolutely.
It might cost them thousands of dollars, but all three tenants we spoke to said it's a price they may soon pay.
I don't know if I've seen anybody move in. I've seen a lot of people move out.
Denver Fire has responded to this area 9 times in a 7-week period, including for this propane tank fire on October 7th, followed by fires on October 9th, October 15th, November 15th, and a death in one of the tents on October 23rd. Denver police have responded to the area 81 times between October 4th and November 21st. Not always because of the encampments, though that was the most common code, used 20 times, followed by threats, assault, suspicious occurrence, narcotics, check hazard, and that homeless death on October 23rd.
The good news is that the housing units are coming, that we have hundreds of units set to open in the month of December.
Cole Chandler is the mayor's senior advisor for homelessness resolution. He says the city has 1,395 units in the pipeline to relocate the homeless to.
Prior to the Johnson administration, the policy around addressing encampments was really just moving encampments from block to block. And so we never really saw the issue of encampments being resolved.
Just last week, the city announced it would soon be closing 2 encampments at 20th and Curtis and 48th in Colorado, getting another 200 people off the streets. That would bring the city halfway toward its goal to find housing for 1,000 homeless people by December 31st.
We believe that at the end of this year, 1,000 people that were living on the streets will have come indoors, but that is absolutely not the end for us. That's the beginning of a long process of making Denver vibrant and safe and really.
I think those days are over for most cities. You can't turn this around. It's too huge now. And yes, we can thank ourselves for doing nothing and letting creeps who, people bow down to. Oh, look at your position. You've got a lot of power. You must be smart. Oh, my God. Well, when you don't get yourself involved in what's happening in your own communities, then the people in position will impose an awful lot of nefarious policies, and we're living it. 6 shootings on Western Washington highways in a single night. Anybody else, you don't even have to watch the videos, but on your YouTube feeds, on your Twitter feeds, are you seeing how many shootings we are having every single day all over the country? Okay.
6 different drivers were shot at on South King County highways last night.
It's pretty wild. Washington State Patrol have a lot of work ahead of them with the shooters still out there. But are all of these shootings connected or are they random? Fox 13's Nikki Torres has more.
Well, these 4 separate drivers were shot at within a time span last night of just a little more than 3 hours. One man was badly injured and rushed to the hospital. The other 3 surely experienced a traumatic event that they will never forget. A frightening night on two major Western Washington roadways.
Yesterday evening, we had a total of 4, which is alarming.
The first happened just before 9:30 last night.
We received a 911 call from, I believe, the passenger in the vehicle called us. They were driving southbound I-5 in between South 272nd and 320th in the Kent Federal Way area.
A car pulled up next to them and fired one shot.
Went through the driver's side window, struck the driver in the neck.
The passenger in that driver's car called 911 and told Washington State Patrol they saw a white man in his 30s or 40s driving alone in the car. WSP says the witness described it as a newer 2-door blue Nissan sports car, possibly a 350Z or 370Z model with an aftermarket spoiler attached on the back with chrome rims. Trooper Rick Johnson shared this photo clearly showing the bullet hole right through the driver's side window.
Received another phone call from an individual, said they were shot at.
This was the second shooting of the evening near 200th on northbound I-5.
They described the exact same vehicle.
That witness also told WSP the suspect took off heading north on Interurban Avenue in the Tukwila area.
Then about 10:30, we received another call from an individual that was traveling southbound State Route 167 near Ellingson.
Oh, God. Okay. Lots of shootings going on. And Elizabeth, I think it's rough sleeping. Rough sleepers, or... So... Let me go back here. We're in big trouble. And look at all of these. Look at all of these scooters outside the Row Migrant Hotel. Who's paying for them? Look at all of these scooters. For the migrants. For the migrants. Okay. So, yeah. Americans aren't going to be protecting anyone. The East Village, New York City migrants began to set up encampments.
Hey, da con esa cortina, no falta. Mamá, ya como ando de una vez para meter las cosas.
And these migrants who have been encouraged to come here, being told that they're going to be given all of this, and they're not, do you think they're going to get pissed? It's already happening. Coyote child traffickers, single males using children as a meal ticket to get into the U.S.
¿Dónde está la mamá de esa niña? ¿Dónde está la mamá de esa niña?
No está, solo llevando.
¿Por qué? ¿Cuándo nació? ¿Cómo se llama la niña?
Madison.
¿Y cuándo nació?
El 21 de febrero.
¿Cuántos años tiene?
Año y medio.
¿Año y medio? 21 de febrero, ¿qué año nació?
El 2020.
¿El 2020?
No, 23.
¿Por qué nomás la traes tú la niña? Mamá, apúrale ya. Yes, sir. ¿Dónde está la mamá de la niña? ¿Por qué no responde la niña a los ojos? A ver, despiértala.
Está dormida.
Despiértala.
He goes around, Anthony Aguirre, showing that these children are drugged.
He can't even. Esa niña no es de él. Esa niña no es de él. coyote. Está traficando niña este. Este es coyote. Este trae una niña ajena. Esta niña no es suya. That's not his child.
Starting tonight, I will start calling the sheriffs. Yeah. Need more and more and more and more and more and more people on this, for sure. But Chinese organ harvesters caught with frozen children packed in ice. Okay. I'll link below. I can't play this because I think this is community guideline strike, even though it's exposing an evil, but you know. I don't like what has manifested. And look at this. 86 years after the sirens sounded for the Nazi genocide, the Spanish city of Guernica once again sounds the sirens in response to the Israeli genocide in Gaza. I'm going to play some of this video. I hope there aren't ads that are going to be showing up. But I will link below. This is Kim Iversen. And it's a very, well, I think a very important video. For sure. God, it's the watch later one. And I pulled up the other one. And I'm just... Alright, you can go to Kim Iversen's channel. But, I mean, she breaks down in tears. And everything that she's saying is true. You know, look, when we have evil, hitting us in the face every single day, and it's big. It's big, it's obvious. People are suffering. You have to wonder, what is wrong with the American people, because the United States is very involved in the evil that is taking place in Israel. You have to wonder, what the hell is wrong with the majority of the population? For sure, complicit. Absolutely. Evil streak themselves.
Out, and I want to share this with you because it went viral, and a lot of people, this was viewed millions of times. It was commented on thousands of times, and so I felt like tonight I needed to do a show on this in order to address it. Let me just go ahead and read to you the tweet to start off with. This is what I said. And I'm going to elaborate on this tonight on the show, because this is, of course, a tweet, and so it's not as long as what it could be. Every American I know who has spent time in Palestine comes back angry, disgusted, and traumatized. I've yet to meet someone who says it's not that bad. It's their fault, and they deserve it. I've met many who went believing Israel were the good guys, and Palestinians screwed themselves over, only to come back with an entirely disgusted view of Israel. I came back in a state of shock. I witnessed in real life things I'd only read about in history books. things I never believed a government could do in modern times. I had a neutral view of Israel prior to my trip. During my trip, I was extremely skeptical and even pissed off several Palestinians with my lines of questioning. I couldn't turn on the lights or get myself, when I came back to the States and began processing everything, I couldn't turn on the lights or get myself out of bed for a week. What I saw was unimaginable. It was a cruelty aimed at a group of generous and warm people with a very, very clear intent to get rid of them. And I couldn't believe the group doing it to these people had done it to them not long ago. They took similar tactics and weaponized them against others. That is what I saw, and I can't unsee it. The children in the schools would stop me and beg me to come home and tell America to stop. They know it is us allowing this abuse. Myself and everyone I know comes back disgusted with Israel, and many of us weren't even in Gaza witnessing war. Everyday normal life for Palestinians is cruel, and it is 100% controlled by Israel. And despite what we've been spoon-fed our whole lives, it is not done because the Palestinians are violent and dangerous. It is done to rid the region of them, to make their lives so miserable they either leave or violently rise up, giving Israel an excuse to take more land. And the Israelis are not shy about this when you speak to them. Some might couch it with statements like, well, we tried peace, but they didn't accept it. It doesn't matter how they phrase it. They still end up in the same place, which is they can't stay and we want them gone. This tweet now has been seen, as I mentioned, millions of times. It is thousands of comments and retweets. And many people were able to share their own experiences when they went to the West Bank. And I want to share some of those with you now. Here's one, Myrna Schmidt. She says, I had this experience. As a Canadian, I went with a strong bias in favor of Israel. Seeing the truth on the ground changed my view 180 degrees in just hours. Here's another one from Stephanie Edmonds saying, my first ever Google search, Golda Meir. My first ever international trip, Israel. That is what good Jews do. We learn our history and pass on the tradition. No amount of Israeli propaganda can undo what I saw and experienced during my time in the West Bank. Here's choices. I had the same experience after I went on a human rights delegation to Israel in the West Bank and Gaza in 1988. I so agree that you can't imagine it unless you've been there. Here's at Proverbial Soups. Sounds like my experience. Going to Israel, Palestine is the ultimate red pill. Nobody can gaslight Americans who've actually been there. We can't unsee what we have seen. Huma Yasin, I want to add, I have been well educated on the oppression of the Palestinian people. But when I visited the West Bank myself and experienced maybe a billionth of what they experience, my blood was boiling. I don't know how anyone with a beating heart wouldn't feel the same. Fallen to Woo says, when my sister visited in 2011, her group was stopped at a checkpoint due to a ruckus. It was Israeli children throwing bottles at elderly Palestinian women, and they couldn't do anything to help. Stukas Tom says, I've talked to Greeks. This is a person in Greece, says, I've talked to Greeks who went to Israel and Palestinian territories for religious purposes, and they said the living conditions of the Palestinians were terrible and degrading compared to that of what Israelis enjoyed. Mia shares a longer post I want to share with you. This is a really great story. She says, I don't know too many Americans who've spent time in Palestine, except for my father and my friend who went on a birthright trip to Israel and decided to see Palestine as well. Their description of it is no different than what's being described here. My father is a man who was shot 7 times in Vietnam, so it's not that easy to shock or horrify him. But he was pretty shocked and horrified by what he saw there. My father wanted to see the Holy Lands, but I grew up only a few minutes away from one of the biggest Palestinian communities in America, where he was a police officer for years. The people he met in that time also inspired his trip. He wanted to see for himself what they escaped. He was surprised at how many Christians were living there, and they were treated no different than the Muslims. He didn't say, "Oh, well, they elected an evil government, so they deserve this." Half of them are children, and there hasn't even been an election since 2006. Newsflash, we have an evil government, and I pray that my children never have to pay for what Bush did to the Middle East. My father loved Israel so much as your average boomer before he took that trip, but he came back with a much more balanced view of the situation and with a very heavy heart. As a person who's been to war, it doesn't give him some sort of sick pleasure to watch civilians die. He understands the complex situation with how Hamas runs things over there, but he also understands that the people who live in Gaza are oppressed. It's normal to have sympathy for the children who were killed in Israel and the children who are being killed in Palestine. Not too many people out there in the real world believe that one child deserves it and one doesn't. That sick, collective punishment is exactly what a terrorist believes in. Natalie Smolensky says, I visited Israel, Palestine in 2008, Tel Aviv, West Jerusalem, East Jerusalem, Galilee, Bethlehem, Nazareth, and the West Bank city, Qaqilia. The country is breathtakingly beautiful, of immeasurable historic value. There are so many amazing people on all sides of this conflict living on this tiny strip of land, but the visit left me genuinely traumatized. There was no doubt that there had been a war going on for generations, which had hardened into a system of occupation and oppression. Sorry, I get emotional because I saw it with my own eyes, and it was horrible. We cannot be a government that supports this. We cannot be a people that supports this. We cannot. It is horrible what is happening over there. Of course the people rise up. Of course they fight back. We saw what happened during the pandemic. During the pandemic, Americans were locked into our homes, our comfy homes. We had DoorDash. You know, we had the internet. We had a way to still communicate with one another. I mean, it wasn't that bad. It was bad, but it wasn't that bad. It wasn't like we were totally oppressed. You know, but the lockdowns in and of themselves, had Americans had to live through the lockdowns much longer. I mean, there's certain parts of this country that would have lived with them for a long time. We saw that. We saw that there were many parts of the country that were like, oh, whatever. And they're still wanting the lockdowns now. They're asking for them now. But there was a lot of areas of this country that absolutely would not have put up with those lockdowns any longer. Imagine lockdowns for years and decades. Imagine being oppressed to that level where the cops are roaming the streets with their guns, machine guns, not just pistols in their holsters, but just actual automatic rifles ready to go at any time. If you were to rise up and break out of your home, you were to break out of your home and you were to get your freedom, you want your freedom, you want out. And these guys are going to break you. Lots of Americans. I'm willing to bet that lots of Americans absolutely would have risen up. A lot of Americans would have broken out of their homes. A lot of Americans would have said, we're not putting up with this anymore. And I think militias would have formed. I think there would have been groups of people. We saw parents at just school board meetings rising up, angry, yelling, and they were called terrorists. They were classified as terrorists just for raising their voices, just for saying, I am not okay with this. And maybe they threw a punch or two. Maybe they got violent, and maybe they even got violent at the wrong people. But it was that desire for freedom. It was that anger of being trapped. It was the anger at what was happening to their children that caused them to rise up. So imagine that happening to you for decades on end, and even in a worse way, much harsher than lockdowns we could ever imagine. Of course, the people are going to create militias. Of course, they're going to rise up. Of course, they're going to form organizations and political parties and ideologies that are going to become extreme because they're in an extreme situation and they extremely want to get out of it. So it's a very tough situation. So reading this gets me a little emotional because I went there, I saw it, and it was unlike anything I could ever explain to you. I'm going to do my best to explain it to you tonight, but I'm going to go on here with Natalie's testimony, what she saw. She said, I was in East Jerusalem, which was then Palestinian territory on Israel's Independence Day. I watched packs of young IDF soldiers parade through the streets, automatic weapons out, fingers on triggers, singing nationalist songs. Palestinian shopkeepers shuttered their shops in fear of being killed or robbed. Soldiers who were known to just bulldoze through stores, taking whatever they wanted. Many Palestinian shopkeepers had pictures in their shops of relatives, including children who had been killed in the conflict. The marching IDF soldiers were accompanied by plain-clothes Israelis, also carrying automatic weapons, also fingers on triggers. You couldn't tell if these people were cops, undercover military, or just ordinary people. There was a sense that violence could erupt at any moment. This set the tone for the rest of the trip. I saw that Palestinian life was mirrored by a network of checkpoints and ID requirements that in effect ground social and economic life to a halt. If you were a Palestinian living in the West Bank, you needed a Jerusalem ID card to go to that city, which was probably only 30 minutes or an hour away from where you lived. If you were Palestinian and out of the country for more than 45 days, the Israeli government could simply revoke your Palestinian ID card, meaning you couldn't get back in to your own country and you weren't a citizen of Israel anyway. For this reason, many Palestinians were afraid to travel. Palestinian students couldn't attend Israeli universities. About 20% of Palestinians and 40% of Palestinian men had been in prison, and almost all of those imprisoned, 90 to 95%, had been tortured. Palestinians had to wait hours-long lines to pass through checkpoints to go to work or to the hospital. They could be turned away for any reason, which meant they would not be able to get to work or get medical treatment that day. Pregnant women were often forced to give birth in their cars or on the road because they couldn't get through checkpoints in time. People regularly died waiting in checkpoints. The road system was also segregated. Some roads were for Jewish people only, unless they were settlers in specific communities. Most Jewish Israelis were not allowed to go to the West Bank or Gaza to see the effects of the occupation themselves. The separation fence ostensibly means to separate Israel from the Palestinian territories, also cut many Palestinian towns in half, forcing families and neighbors to go through an arduous checkpoint process just to see one another. In the West Bank city of Qikilia, my friends and I saw an above-ground sewer that had bars placed on the openings so that people couldn't even use the sewers to quickly get to a hospital, which was in a different city. In the Palestinian village of Nazareth, where Jesus is believed to have grown up, my friends and I visited beautiful churches. We spoke with many ordinary Palestinians, both Muslim and Christian. I bought a bottle of the olive oil made in the town. It tasted exquisite. You have to help us. You have to help us, said the woman selling me the olive oil, pleading with her eyes. I will remember that forever, said Natalie. Natalie Smolensky, not an Arab. Maybe she's Jewish. I don't know. White blonde hair, right?
I'm going to put this link in. You might get an error message. But Kim goes on sharing her experience when she was there. And but you could also go to Kim Iverson's channel and get the video as well. So, you know, I read a comment. I don't care what's going on in other parts of the world. They don't care about us. Why should they care about us? We're dropping American bombs on innocent Palestinians. Why should they care about us? We haven't done one flippin' thing to get our government to stop the billions going over to Israel, sending them all of the munitions that they're killing Palestinians with. And when you say, when you think about what Israel is doing, the IDF, the Zionist government, include our government and military, because we're there. We got boots on the ground. We've got the helicopters flying over Gaza. So, include the good old US of A. Now, the reason why I titled this live stream, it's the Koreans. A subscriber sent me an email recommending that I watch this movie, which, I can't play it. Sure can't play it. But I can't remember the title. Leave the World Behind? Okay. Leave the World Behind.
And that noise.
Now, if you've got Netflix, I really recommend you watch this. It is telling you what's coming. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it is telling you what is coming. And it's not going to be pretty, and it's not going to be fun, and boy, I hope you're not on vacation on Long Island. Yeah. But, I can't play it at all, but I did want to read some of it. Let me see if I can. The satellite phone not working, and then that noise, and then what? Okay, the noise. Sonic weapons being used. Ear-piercing frequencies. And then the effects that you'll see. This is isn't it Julia Roberts and Ethan Hawke? Is that his name? And others. But you'll see all of the chaos that is brought about. And there's a prepper in this. Don't expect people who are your friends. Don't expect them not to betray you if you need some help. And the name of the movie is Leave the World Behind. They thinking they're just going to have a nice vacation. Grid goes down. Planes crash. Teslas, the self-driving vehicles, clog up highways. Then on other highways, all of the cars are just crashing into one another. They have the, we think that because the, what is it called for the vehicles, the kill, they're programming into new vehicles where they can shut you down. Well, they can shut an awful lot of these vehicles down. Unless it's a very, very, very old vehicle. But mine is 2003. And twice, in the exact same place, in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where I was filming all of the wild movies going on in the sky with the electromagnetic frequencies, with the artificial clouds, And I thought my battery was dead because I would go back to my car and nothing. Literally, it was dead. Walk home, try to find somebody, to come with me to jump my car before I even opened up the hood. Put my key in, and it started up. Twice that happened in the exact same spot where all of these frequencies were taking place. 2003. So, there's an awful lot the frequencies can do. Electromagnetic frequencies. And I'm sorry to say, but a whole lot of people think they're going to be surviving what's coming. Good luck. If you got Netflix, watch this. Now, I'm not... aspects of this is coming. Will all of it come? I think it will. It's definitely one of the scenarios where we get invaded by not just one country, but, a lot of countries. And, all those Chinese nationals that, they don't have to go through the rigorous vetting because of politics. And when you get 12,000 in 24 hours coming through the border in Arizona in 24 hours, and we've got millions all over the country, that's an invasion of a whole lot of countries. And watch this, if you can, because it's very educational. Satellite phone not working, and then that noise. The sonic weapons. Yeah, this is going to be too hard to do because the internet provider sucks, and yeah, I can't do it. But at one point, they need help. They go to somebody out there that is known as a prepper. And in talking to them, what is wrong with you? My cats are acting very strange lately. Oh, man. Well, I don't like you on the desk. I don't want you on the mock desk or whatever the hell this is. So at one point, Ethan Hawke is drying and he sees leaflets, like militaries. They're informing people, right? So they drop all of these leaflets. Well, in this town in Long Island, very wealthy town, Ethan sees them dropping leaflets, and they're Iranian. It says, "Death to America." And then when Ethan tells her that he got that leaflet, they were dropping all of this, he was telling him because the guy said, it's the Koreans. Now, do you know, just like Israel, Korea North is just another satellite country for the United States. Okay. But when I heard that, I was reminded of a dream that I had probably 4 decades ago. I don't remember my dreams, but this one I remember for 4 decades. It was a dream that we were being invaded by North Korea. And it was not a fun dream, it was a nightmare. What these North Koreans were doing to Americans. So, if you have a bunker that you can lock yourself in, you might be able to survive if you're able to survive in that bunker for a very, very long time. What do you mean, Elle? So, the prepper also says, and they go through, he's very knowledgeable in terms of what militaries do, the confusion that they reign. So he was saying that he knows somebody in California that was dropping leaflets in San Diego or something, and they were getting Korean leaflets, Long Island getting Iranian leaflets. And then he says, but there's a lot of countries that hate us because of what we've done. We really should have cared what we were doing over there, but we didn't. So, we are part of this fabulous country. You can't separate yourself. So, oh, it's definitely a satellite country. Just like Israel. And we are going to get our tuchuses handed to us. But watching that today, and I'm not somebody that gets, scared at an awful lot. But I was watching this and I'm thinking, for all who are alone, God, my heart goes out to you. Do I know what the word gringo actually means? I thought it was American or friend. But American. But, is it going to be suddenly you're going to notice, see, in America it's hard because we have so many different nationalities living here. But are you going to be seeing people in military fatigues, carrying rifles? It's going to be the sleeper cells that they're still just populating all over the country. It's going to be nasty. It's going to be chaos. And it may very well be, the grid going down, some countries going, we'll blame it on Iran. I have said throughout the years that we're living what not too long ago would have been unimaginable. And I've said, okay, now think about unimaginable. Try to imagine the unimaginable coming. And I still say that. because even those who I know are well prepared and they're all, ready for people coming up, I don't even think they're going to survive. Not with all of what is coming across the border. So, and with these frequencies, check out what happens. Check out what happens with the animals. So it's they have the technology. The Gwen Tower. It's a weapon, right? Gwen, Ground Wave Emergency Network, decommissioned in the 70s. Decommissioned. So then why did they erect so many Gwen Towers all along the interstates and all over and up in mountains and in areas where people just can't see them? Because I've done the Google Earth and spotted them. One Gwen Tower, one. That's not the cell tower. It's the Gwen Tower. The very tall antenna with the wires, the copper wires, coming down in a 360. Extremely low frequencies going through the ground. Extremely low frequencies that they can emit into the atmosphere. What else can they do? At a certain power level and a certain frequency, kill all life within 40 miles radius. Really? You think we're going to survive? Well, I'm not, but when you look at all of the technology that they have, it's not doable. It's not doable. So that's why I just say, focus on yourself, bring your best self to life every day, help those in need, live honestly and speak honestly. And that is our responsibility. I absolutely believe that it is a responsibility of every individual to help one another. Don't wait to be asked. Extend yourself. And on that note, stay safe. Be as prepared as you can. This is why it was so important to establish trust again in our country, to bring back community, and it's almost nowhere. So, well, if you're losing friends due to living and speaking honestly, they are not friends. And those are people who will turn on you when the going gets hard. So, good night and good luck. Ciao, guys.